The following is a presentation of the Sovryn Tech podcast
feed. Woo! Time for another Sovryn Shorts where, well, we just cover little stories. Of course, earlier today, you also got two Sovryn Rewinds. The response to the Sovryn Rewind of the very first episode of Sovryn Tech has been interesting and joyous. I'll use those terms. And of course, the response to the weekly Q&As has been phenomenal thus far. And of course, that the weekly Q&As are if you are only a patron on Patreon. But the second one of those came out today, of course, because they are Wednesday Q&As. And wow, I mean, the response to the first one was phenomenal. Of course, we used to do these years ago. Now we're just bringing them back, and I feel good about them. And it sounds like most of the listeners feel good about them. And it's always fun to just, kind of kick back for a Q&A and, get your questions. And I get the questions via the Discord server, of course, which you also have access to if you're a patron. And a good time is had by all. And of course, we have our live Q&A coming towards the end of December 2021, and that will be a monthly thing for patrons only also. But speaking of people of wanting to connect, a company that wants to connect with you in a very weird way. Well, it's not that weird. It's not that surprising anyway. Is the subject of our Sovryn Short. And that is none other than Google. Google, out of nowhere, it seemed, announced around the time of the Google Play, or not the Google Play. Well, it is Google Play, but around the time of the Game Awards. And this was on December 9th that they announced that Google would be bringing Google Play games to Windows PCs. Now, Google Play games, we need some clarity on this. Google Play games is itself a separate app on Android devices as well as Chrome OS. And it's an app that includes some games within it, there's like a version of Snakes on there. There's a version, I think, of like Checkers or something. But also it is what manages like your achievements. And there's like some level features to it, but it manages your, identity, your Google account across varying Android games that you play. And of course, again, this functionality already exists on Chrome OS, on Chromebooks, because Chromebooks have the Google Play Store, and you can play Android games on a Chromebook. But now, they're not just bringing, this identity feature. They're not just bringing that hub to Windows PCs. They're also bringing Android games to be played in either I've seen phrasing that says either in an emulated or native way. So it might depend upon the game. And this feature is supposed to arrive in 2022. Now, I have a link in the show notes from 9 to 5 Google where you can get, some more details on this. And it's definitely an announcement I don't think that anybody was expecting anytime soon. I think there were a lot of people planning, Windows users, Windows 11 users specifically, but we got to get into details on that. But Windows 11 users specifically, I think were planning on either somehow installing the Google Play Store in general onto Windows 11 computers, because again, the main differentiator for Windows 11, and I would argue like the top feature that, gives it there's plenty of like visual differences and some little things underneath that make it different from Windows 10. Of course, we've reviewed Windows 11 actually a couple times already. So I'm not going to recover that ground here. But the main differentiator, in my opinion, was that you were getting the Amazon App Store on Windows 11, and you'd be able to run Android apps on Windows 11. Now, a lot of people were like, wait a minute, why the fuck? Why the Amazon App Store? We want the Google Play Store, and, again, all that stuff's already been covered as to why I think that is. And like I said, a lot of people, and they're already doing it with dev builds where the Android app functionality for Windows 11 is available. A lot of people are already side loading apps, to take advantage of that. Games would, of course, be a major part of, what I think Microsoft was planning to have available in the Amazon App Store, which there are many, many games in there. It's like one of the main things that they even sell in it. And I thought overall, the idea that you could run Android apps in Windows 11 in a more native fashion was a win. I thought that was a brilliant move. And for, depending upon your workflow or life flow, might be reason enough to, switch over to, or, to quote unquote, I hate to call it an upgrade, but okay, to upgrade to Windows 11. Of course, what was, ridiculous was that come October when Windows 11, went live, out of beta, and out of dev build and was available to the public, it didn't have the Android functionality. It didn't have the Amazon App Store built into it, which I thought was ridiculous. So then there's no hurry to upgrade to, Windows 11 at all. And it's still going to be 2022 when the Amazon App Store is supposed to be officially available, in the, non-dev build version of Windows 11, whatever, nomenclature that happens to be at the time. Now, before I get into reasons, what is Google doing here? Is getting the Google Play Store or getting Google Play Games. If I've been saying Google Play Store this whole time, I mean Google Play Games, the app. Anyway, it's too much play. They gotta fucking dump that play, moniker. It's just gotta go. It never made sense. Anyway, we've talked about that in 2021 as well. So Google Play Games is coming to, is coming to Windows 11. Is that reason to upgrade to Windows 11? Actually, no. This is so funny because Google announced, when they made the announcement, they said that Google Play Games, you'll be able to install it on Windows 10 as well. So, it does make me wonder if Microsoft is going, well, we don't know how this is going to get installed. Is it going to get installed? Is it like a separate exe, a separate, thing that you're going to install, via, just a download, or is it going to be in the Microsoft Store? Because the Microsoft Store is also getting updated for Windows 10. In fact, part of that update, I think, has already happened. We don't know how this is exactly going to work. We do know that Google did this completely independently of Microsoft. Microsoft did not have a hand in this. Frankly, I think it'd be, and I don't like this, I'm just saying from a business perspective, it'd be brilliant if somehow Google attached this functionality to installing Google Chrome on a computer. I mean, just what a punch to the gut that would be to Microsoft with all the bullshit that they're pulling with Edge, anyway. And they did say there'd be cross-play experience. You could, what you play via Google Play Games on your Windows, on your Windows PC will, it'll work. It sounds like they're saying that it'll save across, which makes sense because, again, Google Play Games, the app itself, is a hub for all of this, but everything will just, sync between your, say your Chromebook, your Windows PC, and your Android device. This is, from a consumer standpoint, raw consumer standpoint, not the fuck Google standpoint, but from a raw consumer standpoint, this is really cool. There are a lot of Android games that I can think of that either I would just straight love to play on a Windows, on a proper PC with a, recognized, controller, right? An Xbox 360 controller or whatever, which you can kind of do depending upon the game on an Android device, as well as a Chromebook. But, with Windows, it'll recognize just about everything you throw at it. So that really opens up what hardware you can, what accessories and hardware you can use to play these games. I would imagine maybe they'll somehow limit it, but, so I can think of that, or, Well, yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is just having the ability to like play certain Android games that are only on Android, or, again, a lot of games for consoles and, classic PC games and whatever have been ported to Android. And a lot of people have spent money on those, and to be able to play those with a great control scheme instead of a touchscreen, have actual like hardware buttons. It's fucking awesome. Sure. So from a consumer level, it's a great move. But why, oh, why is Google doing this? If they already have everybody's ass on Android, or at least, a lot of people's, because billions of installs and whatever, and, it's the most used operating system on the planet, depending upon who you ask. Why, why is Google doing this? Why are they, sinking their teeth or getting into, adding functionality to Windows, when clearly they'd love, to just have everybody using Chromebooks and Android devices? Well, I don't think there's only one reason for this, but like the first reason I'll point out that I think, or what I think is going on, is Stadia, Google's cloud play service, is, as far as I can tell, not doing very well. Not to say that the system itself isn't functioning well, but just it's not taking off with people. And strangely, Google is not promoting it a whole hell of a lot. But Google clearly sees, just like everything else they try. I mean, like Google's trying to be Amazon. Google's trying to be everything, and they succeed at that in varying degrees depending upon the market they're trying to enter. They need to be seen as a brand in gaming, right? Just like, Apple cares about Apple Arcade and, everything else. Like Google needs to be seen as a brand in gaming. And if they can get it in front of you on whatever device you happen to have, they're going to do it. Now, they kind of did that with Stadia, but again, people, for, whatever the reasons are behind why Stadia doesn't seem to be taking off, whether it's because people aren't totally sold on cloud gaming yet, or internet infrastructure overall isn't there yet, whatever that situation happens to be, it is in Google's best interest to have, their name and games front and center everywhere they can. So there's that. The other part of this, I think there might be a little bit of revenge going on here, because Google was working hard on making it so that Chromebooks could actually some of this already exists, right? Where they worked with Parallels to allow for, the functionality like on business Chromebooks to run, Windows-based software. But for a while, Chromebooks have been trying, and of course, eventually they might get Steam on there. I think that's still in the works. They've been trying to like get essentially more Windows software and Windows functionality onto Chromebooks, even to the point where you could like dual boot with Windows on a Chromebook. And Microsoft effectively cut that off at the pass. And I think it's hilarious for two reasons. That now, like, Google effectively just came out and, I feel like they're shaming Microsoft. well, here we go. Like, okay, we can't put Microsoft, or, we can't put Windows stuff on our Chromebooks for the average consumer. Again, clear terms for the average consumer. Well, then we're just going to go the other way around, and we're going to inject ourselves back into Windows, with gaming. Not only that, but they're like, maybe if there is a singular thing here, it's hilarious that they're essentially showing there is no difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11 under the hood. Because otherwise, like this Android app functionality, shouldn't be possible in Android 10. But Google Play Games is showing you absolutely, yes, it is. It can be done right now. And I think it's fucking hilarious. So there's some shaming going on here against Microsoft. And I feel like they're kind of calling bullshit on Windows 11. I could see also some shaming against Amazon here, because they're effectively going to show, just with Google Play Games, they're going to show just how behind the times Amazon's App Store is. And it is. And show just how little is on offer via the Amazon App Store and compared to, just as far as games, by allowing for Google Play Games to be there. So they're not going to let the Amazon App Store build in any more inroads, which one could argue was going to happen, with its functionality in Windows 11. But they're going to cut that mind share off the pass as well. I do think it's interesting. Like, why not, if they can do it with Google Play Games, why not go all the way and just offer like Android apps, offer the entire Google Play Store? I could see where Google wants to entice you, like essentially say, well, here, Google Play Games is like a preview on Windows PC of everything you could have access to, say on a Chromebook or Android device, or however you want to look at that. I could see that's kind of their thinking. Or maybe they want to see how much it's used just with gaming, and then maybe in the future they will make the entire Google Play Store available. If someone hasn't already done it, and there's a chance that somebody did with a dev build, I would not be surprised if people will easily be able to sideload the Google Play Store onto Windows 11. I mean, you already do it like with Kindle Fire, with Amazon devices, with Kindle Fire devices. It's so dead simple to put the Google Play Store on there, and it works fine. And I'm sure Google loves that, So we'll see. But this really feels like some real Trojan horse action. I think it's absolutely hilarious that Google didn't tell Microsoft, didn't get Microsoft involved, for a second. That's why I wonder if it's going to be in the Microsoft Store or not. But yeah, I mean, one of the many reasons I could see this as a really major play where Google says, hey, look, on your Windows PC, you're playing Steam games and you're playing Android games. Guess what? All that fun you're having on your Windows PC, you can go over here and do that all on a Chromebook. Once that Steam functionality is built into Chromebooks. And they wouldn't be lying. So, I mean, that said, like, again, the irony here is you don't even have to upgrade to Windows 11 to do this. It's going to be on Windows 10. That's the biggest fucking snub, because like just fuck Microsoft for that. Of course, it does make me wonder, okay, if it can work in Windows 10, could it work with, could it backport to other versions of Windows? What would get in the way of that? But I could imagine, I mean, Microsoft working on Android emulation and Android functionality within Windows has been going on for years. And we've talked about it on Sovryn Tech, and the program has had different names, the team and the technology has had different names over the years to do this. This isn't like something new that Microsoft is bringing on, for Windows 11. It's something that at one point it seemed pretty clear they were baking into Windows 10, and then they just kind of backed off. So, I can imagine that this Android functionality and emulation is not a part of Windows 7, but we'll have to see more, when this comes to light, because in fact, if you listen to this Wednesday's, the most recent Wednesday Q&A, I talked about how, I'm rocking Windows 7. Like, I'm done. I'm done with the bullshit, either the new features or the lack of features or the hype cycle or the news cycle or all the different issues that come with, being in on Windows 10 and Windows 11. I'm fucking done with it. So it's Linux and Windows 7, for me all the way. Because I mean, all the software I want to use on a Windows machine works on Windows 7, and that's never going to change. Why? Because I don't even buy new versions of the software. The software I want to use and the things I want to do is shit that I've been doing for 15 years. So, there's no change in workflow or life flow for me. I'm just doing what I've always done on a computer. There is no and it ain't security. Look how much Microsoft's fucking that shit up. There's no justifiable reason to be using Windows 10 or Windows 11. So I won't anymore. Fuck them. And Google Play Games sure as hell isn't reason enough, to use Windows 10 or Windows 11. I mean, I might have a machine around that would have Windows 10 or 11 on it that I could, I could test this out and review it. But, in the one sense, again, yeah, sure, there's a lot of games I could think of that I have in my Google Play, app library that would be interesting, to play on a full-on PC experience, using a proper controller, which is where it puts it a little bit of a cut above a Chromebook. But then at the same time, and actually with emulators, that could get interesting too, even though there's plenty of great PC emulators for just about any system you can think of. But then, at the same time, no. I have a million games to play in a million different ways. I sure as hell don't need one more. I mean, it's the same reason I don't have an Epic Games account. I've never had an Epic Games account. You never say never, but I can pretty confidently tell you I'm never going to open up a Epic Games account. I cannot imagine the game. Like they'd essentially, for me to want, to open an Epic Games account, and we're getting beyond the purview of the Sovryn Short, but I'll say this quickly. For me to want to open that up, they'd have to not just have a timed exclusive, they'd have to have a total exclusive of like Star Wars games. But even that wouldn't be enough, because for me, with Star Wars games now, like the greatest Star Wars games have already been made, and I'll keep replaying those, or I'll play the upgrades, the community made upgrades. I don't need to play new Star Wars games. I'll just watch like the walkthrough or the playthrough online, and just experience the story, because that's all I care about now is just the story, like, all right, what's added to the canon here, because they're never going to make TIE Fighter again. I mean, and really all the franchises outside of Nintendo, and Epic Games isn't somehow going to make some deal with Nintendo. I mean, no, that's not going to happen. Nintendo is just in the process of proving they don't need the industry. They are their own industry, and damn Skippy, so like, I already have a Google Play Games account, so that wouldn't be really an issue, but that's the thing. Like, I just have no interest. I have GOG and Steam, and for PC gaming, I have some, indie games, and like I have itch.io, or I have games that have been, modded, community modded, and whatever that I could play. That's it. Like, I don't need to add on any more games, or any other game stores or anything like that. And I really don't need Google Play Games either. So this is something, like, in one sense it interests me, but then in the other, it really doesn't, because also I can't really think of the Android game that like is only on Android that I would play, in this way. Like, Riptide, the Riptide games, those are available on every other. They're on Steam, they're on Switch, they're all over the fucking place. It's hard to think of like an Android exclusive game that I just have to install Google Play Games on, on my Windows 11 or Windows 10 PC or something like that. So it's not something for me, but it's interesting, and I could see where people would really dig this, where people would really, really like this and get a great experience out of it. But it ultimately comes down to, like I said, I think this comes down to getting Google and gaming, making that association on as many devices as possible. And also, to really just it's jabs at both Amazon and Microsoft here. So anyway, that's it. We'll wrap this one up. I thought it was interesting news. Ultimately, it doesn't excite me, but again, I can see for where a lot of consumers, this could be a really cool thing. But it doesn't do anything for me. And I'm just like, I'm out of that hype cycle anyway. So we'll wrap it up with that. And of course, more Sovryn Tech to come. I will see all of you on the other side.